probate and trust real estate. There's opportunities here to not only serve clients during challenging and important life events, but there's also a great opportunity for you as a real estate agent to tap into an incredible referral source. And today's episode is an absolute expert. He's out of the Los Angeles market. He's going to walk us through how he has really gone deep on this particular type of real estate. He's mastered it, and he's going to share with us how he's done that today. Now, before you go, remember, big thinkers and high achievers take action. Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Podcast, where big thinking, high achieving real estate agents come to build successful businesses and significant lives. All right. Welcome, guys. I'm so excited to have again my wonderful co-host, Stephanie Peck. Stephanie, nice to see you.
Hey, great to be here.
And we have a very special guest today, Mr. Bill Gross out of Los Angeles. And I have to apologize. I hit the outro when we were getting started. So we're not ending this show yet. We're just getting it kicked off. So we're a little rusty after a bit of a summer break, but we're back now, hitting the right buttons, and we're ready to roll. So Bill, if you would just give us a quick background on your experience in real estate and why you've chosen the niche that you have. We're excited to really delve into this deep today.
Well, I chose this, I really relaunched my business 5 years ago. I had been in real estate for quite a while, but I moved in mistakenly into management. And it's a long story as to why, but at 60, I decided I got into real estate not to work for somebody. I didn't like who I was working for. And I'd worked for 2 different companies in the prior 8 years. And so I wanted to relaunch back in sales and wanted to build a business. And I took the time to research. I think unlike other realtors that kind of take each day and each transaction as it comes, I actually had the chance to sit down and analyze the market. Probate fit me for a couple things. It's more technical. Working with attorneys made sense for me. I'm a little older, and that played as an advantage rather than disadvantage. And people who inherit properties, most of them, are highly motivated to sell the property. So it seemed like a very rich source of listing leads and was going to work for me. So I spent about 30 days researching and going to court and writing a business plan. I launched it about 5 years ago. And 5 years later, I built a fantastic business as a producer. I have a team. I have referral sources. And I think the thing that we align in, Justin, is that my business is all based on referrals from attorneys and from vendors rather than just from individual consumers.
Yeah, you're speaking my language now, Bill. And I know we were friends for all kinds of reasons. But Stephanie, you've tapped into some of this similar business, right? Where you really take an upstream partner, as I call it, and get that kind of referral flow. What questions do you have for Bill when it comes to the niche, kind of taking that same principle and applying it to his unique niche?
Well, what I hear from Bill and see of you already is you didn't go into this and just knock, knock, hey, who wants to send me business? You made a business plan. I mean, how many real estate agents do we hear from that actually make a business plan and make a plan? So I want to hear more about the infancy of the planning phase and how did you get into those first few relationships with intention rather than knock, knock, hey, do you want to send me a referral?
So one of the things I think in the relationships, as opposed to transactions, I'm reminded of the words that I got at my wedding day from the rabbi who married us. Not that I live these words. I know as a husband what I'm supposed to do. I'm not saying that I do it. But the message he said was the key to any relationship, whether it be business, referral partners, or marriage, it's not finding the right partner, it's being the right partner. And so I really thought about what does an attorney in probate need from a real estate agent to help them serve their customers? What does a family in probate need to get their problems solved? And then who else is in the industry that might need help? Meaning a probate bond company doesn't get paid till the bonds are paid off. The inheritance advance companies don't get paid till the inheritance is distributed. And so all these people were interested in speed, efficiency, and productivity. And so I used to go to court every day and actually in the mornings and watch the actual process and learned what the mistakes were, how to avoid those mistakes. And then where as a realtor I could fit in and help those vendors be more effective. So I spent a lot of my energy really on learning the business and how to be valuable. And I really never spent a lot of time cold calling or cold mailing, because once I had that knowledge, business started to get attracted to me rather than the other way around. And I'll give you one example. I think that, most people start this business, hear a presentation, and buy data, are told to cold call for an hour a day or 3 hours a day. And I did the opposite. I was going to court, and I happened to bump into a young woman that my wife and I had met at a social dinner, and we had known her mother. And it turns out that her father passed away, and she had an estate. She had about 10 properties. They were in probate. And she saw me in court. What are you doing here? And I think that, we all think that all the business is some cold call lead or some cold called attorney. Here was a woman that I had known for 20 years. She was my daughter's age. Again, we knew her mother very well. But because I was in court and she asked me a few questions, and I could legitimately say, I'm here all the time. I know the procedures. Who's your attorney? I don't recognize the name. Maybe I can do some research for you. Next thing you know, I'm helping her understand why she's failing in her probate experience, and offer a couple of suggestions to help her move forward. And next thing you know, I have, I think $8 or $10 million worth of listings because I was there in the right place, the right time, with the right knowledge.
What I love about this, Stephanie and I talk about this as well, is that in order to attract the right people into our lives, right, we need to be attractive, right? Meaning we need to actually have something of value to offer people. And I love, Bill, how you actually paid the price, right? You went and unpaid, sat in a courtroom just simply to learn, so that you could then show up as being uniquely valuable to the clients that needed you. And I think that is so uncommon, I think, in professional service industries. I would say, especially in real estate, that if anybody here is listening saying, you know what, I have a niche that I really want to explore, whether it be probate and trust real estate or whether it be some other, getting uniquely knowledgeable is a great path to go, right? Would you agree with that, Stephanie?
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, I'm amazed that you took the time to do that. So many people don't take the time, but we could apply that to so many different places of where can I be to learn what the need is, and then how do I make a plan to fulfill that need. And another thing that I heard you say is I was in the right place at the right time. I know that sometimes we can tend to say, oh, I just got lucky. There was no luck involved. You placed yourself there consistently for that time to show up. I mean, we can put that in simple terms of real estate agents can all relate to the open house. Well, I was in the right place at the right time. Somebody walked in and wanted to buy this $1 million property and have me sell their other $1 million property. How many open houses did you have to do to be there at that right time? And that's exactly the method that you put into place, just in a different scenario, in a different place than an open house. I love that.
One of my coaches on referrals is Joel Epstein. He'd be a good person for your podcast. I think you guys have a lot of common values. And he has this phrase, which is, how do you get hit by a car? You stand in traffic. And so literally this woman who I met in LA probate court, there's the second floor alley or second floor corridor where there's about 6 probate court departments. And then at the apex, there was the entrance on one side, there's a Starbucks on the other. It's like the cross traffic, Main Street hitting Broadway. And I would get there, court started at 8:30, I'd get there at 8:15. I'm in a suit. I have the same briefcase that many attorneys carry. I look like an attorney, and I was right there, and she happened to walk right by me. And so, how did I get hit by a car? I stood right in traffic. And so I was ready. I knew the information. I knew how to be of value to her. And then I put myself in that position. But you're right. It is about putting yourself in those positions.
Well, the part that I love about that is, to look the part, right? Really ask yourself, what would a real estate agent who specializes in this type of real estate, what would they look like? How would they show up? They probably wouldn't be flying in, by the seat of their pants late, right? No. They wouldn't show up with a hat on backwards. Like, there's a certain level of standard that each industry carries. And if you're not willing to do that, then let's not kid yourself that you're probably not going to be successful in that. And the other part that Stephanie highlighted already is that you went in to not figure out how can I get business from this, but how can I learn to be valuable to the people that are going through this? To me, that's a gem right there. Is it in anything? If we come in with a mentality of what can I do to get value out of this versus what can I do to come in and be able to be valuable and give value to people, it's going to come back in with a much greater return than if you come in with your hand out.
And it goes back to when I started and did research, one of the coaches in the probate space said, go one day to the court. And I went there and I realized there was so much going on. There's so much to learn as far as the research room and the bulletin board had different classes about probate that was related. Now, LA is a huge court compared to most, but still in smaller venues, go and see who the judge is. They'll introduce themselves to you. Go, where do you get a cup of coffee? Where do you park? And so when I have customers that come in, I can tell them, we can park here, I'll meet you there, I'll get you a cup of coffee. It makes the experience totally different. How do you comport yourself in front of judges? In LA, you would wear a suit, coat and tie, dark suit, white shirt, silk tie. When you address the judge, Your Honor, yes, Your Honor, no. Maybe that's different in smaller, more, less metro venues, but learn your court's procedures, learn your judges' methodologies. How do they want to be addressed? And then you have a value that you bring to your attorneys, because they're nervous too. Most attorneys, here's one thing I learned in probate. I took all the data of all the court cases and found that 90% of attorneys had not done one probate in the prior 12 months, meaning the case they had was the only one they'd done in a year. They had no idea what they're doing. They look like they know what they're doing. They talk like they know what they're doing. But to have somebody with them who does know was a great value to them. I knew the court, I knew the departments, I knew the judges. Very valuable. And so again, in any niche, knowing the information will help your referral partner perform at a higher level as well.
Stephanie, what other questions do you have that would be maybe tied into this type of real estate, or principles that we can learn from Bill that might apply to some niche that you're really passionate about? Some things showing up for you?
Yeah, well, will you just tell us a couple of things that you learned along the way and that would be important for somebody to have on their radar? If I wanted to start this process and I wanted to start learning the probate process, what are the few things that I should be looking for in my education?
First thing is, it's interesting. I'm in California. We have specific probate addendums for listings and purchases. I believe we're the only state in the union that has that from our Association of Realtors. So if you're not, the question to ask you is, well, what do you do? What do you put in the contract to protect your client? And what do you do to protect your agency as well, or yourself? And maybe it means ask your broker. Maybe it means ask a closed transaction attorney, is there an addendum you want to write so that when we list your property, we can say it's subject to court confirmation or it's not. So I think I would start with that, is find out procedurally what has to be done and make sure you know those rules better than anybody else. And I believe if you know those rules, you win. In any county you're in, I would say almost all of them have great resources, either the county or state level court system on probate. Learn those. They have local rules, they have local forms and procedures. I would start with those procedures and know what your customer has to go through so you can deliver that at a better level than the competition.
That's great advice. I know that a lot of us can get hung up on imposter syndrome, and what you've given us are the best ways to overcome that. Mm-hmm. First of all, being in the place with the people that you want to be working with and dress like them, act like them. Where do they get their coffee? What does their routine look like? And then be knowledgeable in what's important to them. That's great.
Yeah. And I think that if you focus on that, you stop focusing on yourself. You're looking now to find the information, to find the rules, to find the form, to find the procedures. Next, so you're no longer saying, well, what are they thinking of me? I think that's where we get caught up and we get paralyzed. But when you get into action, it's easy to keep yourself in momentum. So I always tell people, go to the court and go on a recon mission. You're not there to find deals. You're there to learn first. If you learn, the deals will come to you, but you have to first go out and learn. So I definitely would say, for whatever county you're in, research. And here's the last thing I would say. Some people say to me, well, there's only this much in my county. There's only one courtroom. There's only one judge. He only meets on Tuesdays. Okay, well, if you know that, I assure you no other realtor in your county knows that. Just that. Like if you know they meet at Tuesdays and where the courtroom is and which department it's in, and you know the building and you know the date and time, no other realtor is going to know that. So when you talk to the attorney, you can be intelligent in a way that other people can.
Great observation is that, yeah, most people aren't willing to pay much of a price to separate themselves and specialize in something. And you can stand out pretty quickly is what I hear you saying, right? Is by simply just learning some of the very, very basics. Bill, I know probably some of the people in the audience are saying, boy, that sounds like this would be really interesting to me. How do I, knowing that gaining this knowledge is a bit of an investment of time up front, right? How did you manage that? Did you continue to sell real estate in its kind of traditional form prior to really feeling like you had the confidence and the knowledge to be able to go deep on this particular niche, or help us understand and help somebody to kind of navigate how they might transition their practice to go from what they have been doing to this without kind of losing the momentum that they already have in their business?
The fastest path to the deal, it's so easy, it's stupid. I tell people this all the time and they resist it. And I'm going to tell it to you and you're going to laugh because it's not magic. Once I took some basic training in probate, there's different classes and certifications that teach you kind of the genre of probate. In California, we have specific classes as well on the forms, and even those are valuable people in other states. But I did that class and it was a couple days and I learned the material. And so I really just went through my database, my center of influence, and called everybody I knew to say, hi, just want to make sure you know I'm in real estate. I'm here to help you if I can help with anything. The kind of standard calls we all should be making as realtors, and none of us really do. And I said, but just information. I've really gotten to focus in on the probate space and trust. If you have any questions in the area, please feel free to give me a call. And I started that on the A's, and I got to D, actually DI, and it was an attorney who wasn't a probate attorney. He said, well, it's not probate, but my client's husband passed, and she has questions regarding the lot line. Now, that doesn't sound like a probate deal at all. Can you help her? And I said, yeah, because my job as a real estate agent is to help other people who have problems in real estate. And if I solve the problems, often I get paid. That's what our job is. And so here, this attorney referred me his client. I call her on the phone, nice older woman, Hispanic, married, I think 50 years, her husband passed, kind of sad. He manages 6-unit apartment building. She's asking me these questions. She says to me, can you come here and take a look at it? I mean, I'm not a lot line expert, but she was a nice older woman. Sure, I drive out there, about an hour drive. We walk around the property. And at the end of the walk, she turns to me and says, can you just sell this for me? That was my first listing presentation. I said, sure, why not? And so I sold this 6-unit, and it wasn't a probate. It was in a trust. And then when I delivered her proceeds check to her about 2 months later, and she started crying. It was so much money. She said, I always wanted to move to Arizona to be with my sister. Can you sell my residence? And again, my tried and true listing presentation was, sure, why not? So just by calling my database and offering to help regarding probate, I had those 2 deals plus others. So I think what I would say to anybody is the fastest deals for probate are already in your database. It's your client who their cousin's father passed away and they don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. And if you're offering to help people, there's plenty of people with problems that would love to lean on you and ask you questions regarding real estate. And if you become the answer person, there'll be enough deals in there. Now, 9 in 10 phone calls are not fruitful, but about 1 in 10 end up being some sort of a lead to a listing of some sort. So I would definitely urge everybody, learn something of value and then share that with your current database rather than buy some cold call list of strangers. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And so much of the business I've done in the last 5 years has been related to somebody I knew already. Maybe I never would have thought they would use me as a realtor, but they had a probate problem and we talked about it and it turned into, in a couple of cases, some big estates.
Fascinating, isn't it? It was, just like you said, way more simple than we thought it was going to be. Is that learn a little bit, right? You don't have to be an expert. And I would say that I have met maybe more than they care to admit of real estate agents who feel like they have to know everything before they do anything, right? And what you just told us right there is that you need to know something, In other words, be one chapter ahead of the general public, which will
There you
probably
go.
take you about 30 minutes.
There you go.
And then call your database to say, can I answer any questions on this? I specialize in this, or I have some information. I know that with our current demographics, people are having questions about this with their parents, et cetera. I just want to be sure that you've got a resource in me, right? I'm assuming it's something like that, right, Bill? And like literally people start opening up to you.
Well, look, everybody who we sell a house to, we should ask the question, do you have an estate plan? And the answer is no. There's an opportunity to share with them the advantages and protections of an estate plan, and opportunity to refer them to an estate planning type professional. And I know you have that through your program. But as realtors, I'm not saying to do that because you'll get deals. I'm saying to do that because you want to be a good realtor. Every customer deserves you to ask that question. Every listing we ever go on or talk to you about selling their house, we know how they hold title. It's already in public record. So we should be asked the question, hey, notice, Justin, that you own the property in Justin and Mary Stoddard. Are you guys aware of the advantages of an estate plan? How it might protect your assets? And if they say, yes, we don't want to do one, okay, that's fair enough. But most will say, well, no, or it sounds expensive, or it sounds complicated. There's your opportunity to refer them to a great professional because the one they talked to wasn't great. And so I just think in our course of our job, now, and I'll share one other little tidbit. I have a podcast, Probate Weekly. Last week's episode, I had one of the professionals from trustandwill.com. Now, a lot of attorneys don't like it because it's cheap. And okay, they have a great website, trustandwill.com, where I talk about the advantages of estate planning. Go on the website, read a blog post that you find interesting, and then put it in your words and link to it on your social media. Meaning you can record a video and say, hey, I just went on this website, and they say blah, blah, blah about trusts. If you want more, click here. I'm Bill Gross. Call me if I can help. And like you said, you're now one chapter ahead of your customers. They're not going to call trustandwill.com. They're going to call you because they love you, they trust you, they like you. So it's not that complicated to learn a little bit and then share what you learn with customers who really need this information. I'm sure you guys, Stephanie and Justin, both in your practices, what percentage of customers have estate plans? And the answer is not nearly enough.
Yeah, that's brilliant, Bill. And I would imagine that it's pretty easy for you. And this is, again, for those that know, I run a company called Pro Insight, which is a digital platform that helps connect professionals from different industries for the purpose of generating referrals. What you've just shared is an absolute gold nugget. I can't wait to share with our community. And the part that I think is interesting that I would imagine you've also honed as well is this concept of having great estate attorneys, so that when people say, we've been needing one, I've got some. If you don't have anybody, I'm happy to recommend somebody who I know has served other clients of mine well, right? And when you start to open that door for people, it doesn't take long for a good estate attorney who's hungry to keep growing to want to find a way to reciprocate in return, right? When they're meeting with people, to say, do you already have a real estate agent who's, that is an expert in this type of real estate, that at least you could meet with, even if it's as a second opinion. Right. Have you tapped into that, Bill? Have you created a referral flow out of kind of that type of relationship?
It's even easier than that, Justin, because again, let's say you're a realtor, you've been in the business 10 years and you've done, 200 transactions in 10 years. Let's say you've done 50 transactions. Okay. Out of 50, at least 5 had estate plans, right? I mean, about 1 in 10, I think, is the number.
Yeah.
Why not call those people and say, hey, I noticed, Justin, that when we sold your house, you had an estate plan. You bought it in the name of the Justin and Mary Family Trust. I'm curious, who was your estate planning attorney and how happy were you with them? Would you recommend them to my other clients? And they're either going to say, yes, the attorney is the greatest. We love him. We love her. Here's their name. Here's their number. Call them. They'll help you. Or now you have a great referral source to call up that person. Or they'll say, no, we hated him or her. And now you can refer them, because they need to review the plan every 5 or 10 years, you can refer them to somebody else because they already know they need an estate plan. They just need to make sure it gets updated because they have a kid, they whatever happened in their life, divorce or whatever. So I think we have it with it. It's like, we're all kind of like Dorothy and Wizard of Oz. We have the shoes all along. We just think it's some magic trick outside of us. And so to your point, I would say, yeah, of course, call your customers. Find attorneys who can help service your customers, or join a network like Pro Insight or related that have a group of people you can refer to, but also make sure you dig into the people you have already, because they either need referred out to somebody else, or their attorney would love to hear from you and get more referrals. And they already know and like your client, they're probably more likely to know and like you. It just makes sense already in your network.
Love it. So good. Bill, so good. Stephanie, any final words before we wrap up here today?
I think I know exactly what my calls are going to be this week. Thank you, Bill. It's so easy. We already have all of this business at our fingertips and we just don't realize it. We just need to know the right questions to ask and understand the value that we can bring to people. They need this. That's the exciting part, is we know that there are people that we've already served in our database, in our friend group, that need information that we have access to.
Yeah, and I promise, all agents are struggling that ever deal with buyers, and I'm mostly listings, but occasionally I get investors who want to see property. We all struggle with how do we create value as the buyer's agent now. We have to, at least in California, discuss ahead of time, have them sign a contract with our commission identified. Well, how do I create value versus Zillow or Redfin or 50 other agents who will do it for free? One answer is, well, I noticed, Stephanie, as we're shopping for houses, do you guys have an estate plan? Because we make offers, we want to make sure we put it in the right name up front, or at least know we're going to do that. Do you have it together? Do you have the documents? I'm sure you know other agents even bringing that up. And so when they compare you to that other agent, who's more professional, that's one more point on your side that you can bring. And again, I'm not saying do it to ingratiate them to you. I'm saying do it because be a great realtor. And if you're a great realtor, the business will come to you.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, you are an expert, my friend. Can you please tell the audience today where they can go to get more of the gems that you're sharing? Because I know you do a regular podcast, you do a regular newsletter. Where's the best place they can go to get that?
Sure. Well, Bill, my focus is probate. So BillGrossProbate.com, BillGrossProbate.com, or at BillGrossProbate on social media. You'll find me on all the social channels. YouTube is my primary channel, and I have a podcast called ProbateWeekly.com, and you can go there and sign up for current episodes, see the past episodes and such.
Awesome. Bill, such a pleasure. Always very grateful for what you've shared with us today. Really opened our eyes, and I'm sure the eyes of everybody listening in. So appreciate it. And my final request of everybody listening are these 3 simple words, and they are go think bigger. Bill, thanks for helping expand our thinking today. We appreciate you.
Thanks so much. It was a pleasure.
Now, before you go, remember, big thinkers and high achievers take action. Here's one way to do this. Find me on social media and send me in a direct message one aha that you're going to take